you want to practice that recoiling and absorbing of that force of the gravity in your own body weight coming down before you take on the full exercise, okay?
Hi, welcome to the Judy Terrell Show, where I explore topics intended to optimize every body 50, 60, 70, and above.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode number 3 in my 6-part series on exercise to reverse osteoporosis and osteopenia. Welcome, everybody. This is video number 3. And if you haven't watched video number 1, I'm going to put the link in underneath here. Please go back and watch the first 5 minutes, because that's where I'm explaining the whole epidemic of osteopenia and osteoporosis, how prevalent it is, why it's a silent killer, what the ranges are for the definition of those two lower bone density situations, and then explaining the progression of what to do about it from a lifestyle intervention point of view. And that is what we're doing right here in this series. What are exercises? What are things we can do in our everyday life that we can do to reverse the osteopenia and osteoporosis before we need to go on medications? And we can do it because the body of research literature on this topic, if you Google search in Google Scholar or go to PubMed and you search in exercises or lifestyle to reverse osteoporosis, you will find studies that show that it can be done by lifestyle, okay? So very important. Go back to episode number 1 and listen to the first 5 minutes. All right, now, I said in that I'm doing a progression here. So we are now on number 3, and number 3 is more demanding than number 1 and number 2, all right? And we're progressing. So now this one is a double leg vertical vertical jump, straight up, okay? We did stomps in the first episode, and now this is the next level up from that. And it's very important you progress. If you're really fit and still hasn't gotten diagnosed with osteopenia or osteoporosis, you can do these. But if you're not and you have got that diagnosis, you absolutely want to start with episode number 1 and the exercise I did there. But that said, what we're doing here is vertical jumps up. All right, and the research shows that when you do jump training or plyometric, there is 3 or more times the weight of your own body hitting the ground force, 3 times more ground force on the bones, and that has a accelerated effect on increasing bone density, which is why I'm showing you this series and what to do. All right, so now, the thing about double jump training is you've got to be very careful about the landing, all right? You can hurt yourself in trying to do something good for yourself if you don't know how to land correctly. And I have found that although osteopenia and osteoporosis affects men and women both, men generally have been trained or just vicariously learned when they were young, how to land in doing sport movements, but women, we have not been, or a lot of us have not been. I'm stereotyping I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but that is my observation, and that is absolutely true for 50 plus women, all right? So landing, I just want to talk about landing before I show you the exercise. When you land doing plyometric, it is very important that you land like you are a spring or a slinky that is not going to land like this, like rigid, because that's going to hurt the joints and the tendons and the soft tissue. You want to land like a spring that is absorbing the load as you're coming down and then is springboarding it back up, okay?
Your Second 50 Life is my virtual platform that is designed for both men and women over 50 and 60, 70, and 80. And it includes pre-recorded video information on exercise and how to do it, whether you're fit and in good health, or if you have bad knees, bad shoulders, a bad back, whatever. It includes information on how to eat for weight management and how to eat for health management. It includes information on the psychology of aging and what do we need to do in our heads. Because let's face it, this aging thing is not for the faint of heart. So your Second 50 Life is a virtual platform of resources that you can access at your own leisure, but it also includes 2 times a month live video coaching with me so that you can bring your own individual questions and get individual coaching, as well as have access to all the information on the pre-recorded videos. So please check it out, because we're all in this together and we got this.
So that your joints are not at risk. And so the landing is going to look like almost like a slinky collapsing on itself, if you know what that is, or a spring that's collapsing down on itself before it's recoiling before it springs back up. So it's very important that when you land, you think about your knees softening. So I'm going to do a little baby jump right here to show you this. Okay, it's like up, land. All right, so I'm not landing with rigid knees, I'm landing softly, and my body, you can see it's like a spring that's recoiling, okay? That is very important. If you want to practice that recoiling and absorbing of that force, of the gravity in your own body weight coming down before you take on the full exercise, okay? So that's important. All right, now, that said, this jump training, this is vertical jump. You're going to jump as high as you can, but again, with a very soft landing like we just did, because it's the landing where you're actually getting the loading on the bones. And so it's basically a jump, like a straight up jump. And some of you are going to be going higher than others. I'm going to be moderate because I have osteoarthritic knees, so that joint is susceptible. So although I want to do this for my bone density, I also want to be mindful of my knees. So I'm not going to be some of you with the highest vertical jump, okay? You may not be either, all right? But that's not as important as just getting a jump, even at a moderate level, because it's the landing, that's the most important for the bone density, all right? And a vertical jump, we're going to do 10 in a row. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to do it on a little bit of an angle here so you can see that recoiling that I just talked about, okay? So all you're going to do is like reach up when you go up and then recoil to land and then immediately go back up into another jump. So it looks like this. It is 1, 2, recoil, 3, absorb it down, 4, absorb down, 5, 6. It's like throwing a basketball or shooting a basketball. 7, 8, 9, 10, take a break. Now, you're going to get your heart rate up, you're going to feel your respiratory rate come up, and that's great, but that's secondary. We're not doing this for that effect. That's a secondary gain. What we are focusing in on here is the ground forces coming onto the bones at a 3 or higher level, depending on how high you go, onto the bones, because that will stimulate the bones. The osteoblasts that are in the bone, that's the part of the bone that makes new bone, to create more new bone, and then the osteoclasts, which are responsible for taking the dead bone and removing it, and your osteoclasts are going to do that when there's more loading for the good bone, because there's more good bone, live bone, and fresh bone being created. And so the old bone clears out, the new bone's coming in, and you're keeping that bone live and vital and strong, okay? So vertical jumps, what we just did, that was 10, all right? Your goal is to do 3 sets of 10 to 20 reps on an every other day basis, all right? Every other day, because, you know, if you are susceptible to joint issues or tendons, soft tissue, you're doing other exercise, in addition to this, you really don't want to overdo. You want to have enough load that you're getting what we're after, but you also have enough recovery in between, so the little microscopic damage that's being done to the muscles and the tendons has time to repair and heal before you do it again, okay? All right, this is episode number 3. We have 3 more to go. I'm progressing up in intensities as we go, and I will see you on episode number 4. And if you haven't watched episode number 1, go back now and just watch those first 5 minutes. All right, everybody, see you soon. And if you'd like to have access to some of my additional resources, I can be found at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on my website, www.judyterrell.com.